If you watch my channel or read any of my reviews, you are probably sick and tired of me talking about the Polaroid Impulse AF. There's just so much about this camera that makes it a really good value. This is a vintage camera from the 1990s, and not only does it have a big bright viewfinder, it has a really sharp autofocusing lens that's powered by sonar. So if you asked me to put together a wish list for what I would like to see in a brand new I-type Polaroid camera, it would really just be the Polaroid Impulse AF. I would love this kind of plastic box type camera to come back. So imagine my surprise when right in the middle of having my heart broken yet again by the Polaroid Now, that this thing shows up. Yeah, the Polaroid Flip. Looking at the spec sheet, this is everything I asked for. I mean, this even has sonar autofocus. Like, I haven't seen that on a camera since the 90s. It almost seemed too good to be true. I mean, this camera kind of fixes everything on paper that I've been complaining about with Polaroid Now cameras and even the Polaroid i2. Well, I'm happy to report that, yeah, this is actually a really good camera. This might be the best I-type Polaroid camera ever made. And this camera actually has a super reasonable price of $200 US. Like, it's $200 for now, but let's not talk about any of the tariff crap. So the very first I-type camera, the Impossible Project I1, had a really kind of curious lens system. It focused by switching between lenses rather than moving one glass element. And this camera adopts that system. It has 4 different lens elements that move depending on what the camera detects focus. And it works pretty well. I mean, this doesn't focus so close that you can do a handheld selfie, but it does have a pretty reasonable range. And you know, there's a few spots in between some of the lenses where things get a little fuzzy, but I would say this lens assembly is still a big jump forward from fixed focus vintage cameras and even like the Polaroid Now's 2 lenses. Like, it's sharp enough to do the job. The Impulse AF with its, glass lens element is still sharper in general, but this is perfectly workable, and I think most people won't really notice the difference. If this is the kind of lens system that's also needed to give it like the price tag that's literally 1/3 the Polaroid i2, like, I'll take this any day. This is great. Now, all the sharpness in the lens itself means nothing if the camera can't properly focus. And this is where Polaroid Now cameras just fell down the stairs every step of the way. I'm happy to report that this camera actually focuses really well and reliably, and that's because of the autofocus system. I don't know where they dug it up, how they managed to bring it back, but I am so happy to see it here, and I really hope that that appears on basically every Polaroid camera moving forward. Unlike the Polaroid Now, it's pretty reliable. You can just mash down on the shutter and yeah, it's going to be in focus. I would say when I was shooting Polaroid Now, if I didn't hit the focus like 6 times, I would get probably like half of my shots in focus. And with this camera, like, pretty much every single one was in focus. And with Polaroid Now, I also complained there was no indicator. There was nothing that showed me that the camera was focused one way or the other, or that it just didn't find focus at all. And I, in my heart, kind of gave up that there was ever going to be a change in that regard. But this camera actually has a little focus indicator on it, where it doesn't tell you exactly which lens it's using, but it does tell you if for some reason the camera can't get focus. This little red light will blink and tell you that, hey, it doesn't have the shot. And you don't waste precious film because, as you well know, Polaroid is very expensive. So anything you can do to prevent a wasted shot, wonderful. Like I said, the camera doesn't really focus close enough to let you do handheld selfies, but just use a tripod. There's a self timer on here. You can use an app as a remote shutter, and yeah, that's how you can take your selfies. Now, the other major weakness of every I-type camera, from the super expensive i2 to the Polaroid Now, has been exposure. But it's actually much better now, and I think that's because of 2 things. One, it's got a big old flash at the top, which is always going to be helpful. If you're in pretty much any circumstance, always leave the flash on. It's always going to be helpful. But I think also the exposure system is just improved overall. It just seems to get a lot better results. I have noticed that it'll err on the side of overexposing rather than underexposing, and it still is a pretty simplistic system. Like, situations where you think it'll probably get tricked, it'll probably get tricked. But I've been able to get pretty good pictures in situations that other I-type cameras just wouldn't have been able to shoot. Like, I can do scenes with a big contrast, I can do scenes without flash, and yeah, overall it works. So don't expect perfection, but it is way better now. But there's more. There's actually a way to set exposure compensation on here. So if you know you're in a situation where the camera might overexpose, you can actually manually underexpose a little bit. It's not super intuitive. It's not like a switch like vintage Polaroid cameras have, but it's better than nothing. I actually had to look at the manual to figure out how this worked, but you hold down this big button and then you'll actually have a little exposure compensation dial kind of thing to select if you want to overexpose or underexpose slightly. This is some real VCR-ass interface design, but like I said, it's better to have it on the camera than not have it at all. And I'll take a little bit of a convoluted design if it means that I can use it on the camera without having to depend on the app, because who knows if that app's going to be around in 20 years. So we've gotten this far without actually talking about the, the flash bar, the big thing that, the camera is named after. And I love a flash bar design. I think it's super smart because it gets the flash above the lens, which is just better for more pleasing shadows and just, better light and more room for it as well. But it also protects your camera when it's closed. So like I can just throw this in a bag and not worry that something's going to scratch the lens or hit the shutter or do anything like that. It's just totally protected. It was a good design back when vintage Polaroid did it, and it's still a good design. Now the Polaroid flip itself does feel kind of cheap. Like the seams are not like all perfect and the plastic feels sort of cheap. I would recommend getting the white version since it's not going to show fingerprints. But like, I don't mind a little cheap plastic. I mean, Polaroid cameras have always had cheap plastic. And the actual like mechanism here, like, that feels good. Now, I might, only time will tell if that's going to last, but I think it will. I think they did a really good job of navigating the compromises of making the camera nice, but not too expensive. Now, something with the design to keep in mind, if you are handing this to someone who has never shot a Polaroid camera or hasn't shot one in a long time, make sure to point out the shutter on the front. A lot of people, when I've handed the camera to them, have just started pressing these buttons on the back, thinking it'll take the photo and don't really get anywhere. So yeah, big old red button on the front. Now we're going to get to one of my criticisms of this camera, and this has been a criticism of every single I-type camera. This camera has a built-in lithium rechargeable battery, and it just uses USB-C, which is great because vintage Polaroid cameras had a battery in every pack of film that powered the camera, and that's a little wasteful. I-type film is the same as 600 film, it just doesn't have that battery in it, which is totally fine. The problem is that lithium batteries will die, especially if you don't baby them by recharging them on a regular basis. They go bad in just a few short years, if that. And the problem is, if the battery isn't easily replaceable, then this camera is just going to go in the garbage when that battery dies. And that's bad. We don't want lithium batteries in the garbage. We don't want Polaroid cameras in the garbage. The Impulse AF that I use is from the early 1990s. It's almost, oh my gosh, it is over 30 years old now. All I ask is not for them to stop using lithium rechargeable batteries, but make it user serviceable, make it easy, and have them explain to people how to switch those batteries out, because they are going to need to get switched out. That's the only big knock I have against this camera, especially over like a vintage Polaroid camera. If you want to get or give a new Polaroid camera, the Polaroid Flip is the one to get, regardless of price. It's better than the i2, which is ridiculously expensive. It's better than the Polaroid Now, which is a little cheaper, but not that much cheaper. And the results are way worse on the Polaroid Now. The Flip is just everything I've always wanted from an I-type camera. It's affordable-ish, so it's a good introductory camera. It takes good pictures. It's fun to use. And yeah, I can just throw it in a bag and not worry about it. And also, lest I sound too excited like I'm promising the world, this is still an instant film camera. And I've seen people get frustrated with that before because these aren't digital cameras. They are a little chaotic. You're going to shoot pictures and it doesn't come out right, or it comes out with totally different colors than you expected. But that's the fun of film. And sometimes it's going to be frustrating. This camera, at least, is a little less frustrating to use than many of the other Polaroid I-type cameras out there. And yeah, I think this is a great camera. I also think this is a great camera to step up to if you've been using Fuji Instax Mini and you're curious about a larger Polaroid format and you like the Instax line. Like, this is about as close as you can get to that Instax experience on the Polaroid side. And I think you get a lot better camera, you get a lot more attractive camera, and you get a lot bigger image. But you will have to spend a little bit more than the Instax. I'm just so happy that I have a camera that I can recommend. Right now they seem like they're only distributing this camera like directly from Polaroid. I imagine it'll get a wider release soon. And like I said, right now the camera's $200, but who knows what the price is going to be by the time you watch this video. But how about you? What do you think? Have you used the Polaroid Flip? Have you gotten good results from it? I never thought I would see the day where Sonar autofocus showed back up. So if they're able to do that, maybe my dream of an SLR isn't that far away. Like, I can dream, right? Right?